So again, thank you all for the comments and questions coming in from Cave Hill and from some other participants who have been viewing via Zoom. We thank you for staying on with us, and you can continue to send in your questions and we will answer them. We are more cognizant of that. It was a slight omission on my part, but we are getting the questions coming in. We'll continue to field them and send them towards the session chairs. Thank you. Professor Algalid.
Good afternoon, everybody. And my name is Muawiyah Al-Ghalid, and I am a professor in the economics department at UWI St. Augustine. And I am very glad to present the two presenters. The first one is Dr. Kai and Skeete. And Dr. Kai and Skeete is the Trade Research Fellow at Sharida Thramphal Center for International Trade Law, Policy and Services based at UWI Cave Hill campus. And her research interests are Caribbean integration, Latin American foreign policy, security studies, and regional governance. Also, she's a member of the Caribbean Studies Association, the International Studies Association, and the Canadian Association for Latin American and Caribbean Studies. She's a recent graduate from the PhD International Relations from the Institute of International Relations. And you can start.
Good afternoon, everyone. All protocols observed. Please forgive me because I'm not going to use my slides. I'm going to tell you a story. Now, although I am a trade research fellow at Cave Hill, and hello to my Cave Hill students and colleagues, although I am a trade research fellow at Cave Hill, I am more recently the mother of a 12-month-old son named Joshua Markai. And Joshua Markai is at nursery right now. But in 17 years' time, I hope that Joshua Markai will experience a region that I have grown to love, live, and work in. So my presentation today actually deals with building regional integration and advancing it in a sufficient way that my son and my future grandchildren will benefit from. So essentially, this topic started years ago in 2004, 2005, when I started international relations. With the advent of the CARICOM single market in 2006, we've had persons moving across this region. These persons moving across this region, such as myself, to work, seek employment, earn wages, provide services, etc. We're moving money, we're moving businesses, we're moving services. We are moving, and although we are moving as factors of production for the economic terms, we are still human beings. And as human beings, we have specific needs. These needs mean access to certain services, such as healthcare, education, whether it be welfare services, etc., basic social needs. However, when the architects of the CARICOM single market and the economy crafted this fantastic initiative in 1989, they never once conceptualized us, the labor in the CSME, as actual human beings. They categorized us as merely factors of production and said the market would provide for itself. However, we know in this part of the developing world, we must provide for ourselves and our neighbors. We must be our brother's keepers at all times. So this topic of contingent rights essentially covers that. It basically means that within the CSME, I'm president in Barbados. No, I'm president in Trinidad, sorry, I'm tired. I'm president in Trinidad as a Barbadian. If I were to bring my Barbadian son here to Trinidad, he should have access to all the services as a Trinidadian national. So whether he would have access to healthcare free, education free, whether he may go to an ophthalmologist free, whatever, he should be treated as a Trinidadian in Trinidad and vice versa. So if the professor decides to move his family to Barbados, they must be treated as Barbadians. Meaning, if his children are below the ages of 16 years old, they receive free health care. They receive free education. Education is compulsory. And they receive a lot of other services and privileges, according to the Barbadian government, as Caribbean nationals living in Barbados. However, we will admit that there is some level of asymmetric development across the region. We don't exactly all provide the same services at the same levels. We have varying levels of investment. Yes, we know this. However, we are still bound by the treaty. International law dictates that we must provide national treatment for all CARICOM nationals. So this is where the region is currently at a stalemate. We've been negotiating this as a region since the early 2000s, and we have not gone far. Persons have closed negotiations because they realize that it's hitting home. Although we want to be our brother's keepers, as I heard in this room earlier today, and it hurt a bit truthfully, because we have persons still here in Trinidad in 2017, where we are still looking at us, the non-Trinidadians in the room, as foreigners. We are not foreigners. We are no different than you. We suffer the same exact way. And I know you mentioned Dominique, and I know we're dealing with Dominique at the present moment, but I would like us all to think that we are all CARICOM nationals. So as CARICOM nationals, there is no different from me being here in Trinidad and Dr. Conrad coming to Barbados with his family. There's no different. We're all treated the same exact way, providing the same exact services. We're equal. But our countries need to first acknowledge this obligation, and then we as a people will start to learn. So that's essentially my presentation in a nutshell. So what I will do now, I will go through in some more detail with the slides, and I will watch the timekeeper to ensure that I don't go over. And I will tell you a little bit about the theory behind it. All right, so essentially I started out by discussing the 15 CARICOM member states and telling you what the CARICOM single market was conceptualized in 1989, formalized by a legal treaty in 2001, and officially launched in 2006. As I stated, we are mainly dealing with the movement of factors of production, goods, services, capital, and labor. As labor, we do not require work permits to travel across this region. Coming to Trinidad and Tobago, I should not be required to get a visa. However, I'm still on UWI's student listing, and I noticed an email was sent out to all students telling you to go to immigration for your visa requirements. That's discriminatory. Trinidadian students do not need a visa to come to school in Trinidad. A Barbadian student should not need a visa to come to school in Trinidad and Tobago. That is discriminatory and illegal according to the revised Treaty of Chagaramas. An update on the status of free movement of the labor regime. There are originally 10 categories at present, ranging from university graduates from 1996 to domestics from 2009 with a CVQ. Originally, by 2009, the original architects of the CSME envisioned that all persons within this region should have been allowed to move freely from 2009. Whether you are an artisan or you're a university graduate, all persons should have been allowed to move. We actually stopped just at the bar for the CSE and O levels because I think we realized the magnitude of it. And I think then at that point in time, we didn't understand our absorptive capacity. And that is something my paper discusses. Now, at this present moment, the compliance in terms of CSME is at 70% for the free movement of persons, 57.5% legal compliance, 86.6% institutional compliance, and administratively, we are merely at 67.5%. Now, this graph tells you the amount of persons who have taken advantage of this CARICOM single market regime as skilled labor. If you notice, Guyana has the most CARICOM skilled nationals. Over 2,500 CARICOM skilled nationals are registered in Guyana, whereas for Trinidad and Tobago, they're a little under 500 as of 2010. Whereas Barbados has been verifying a lot of CARICOM skilled nationals. There's a difference between issuing CARICOM skilled nationals and verifying. Verifying CARICOM skilled nationals are those CARICOM skilled nationals who are visiting your country. So whether it be the Trinidadians, the Grenadians, the St. Lucians, Jamaicans coming into Barbados, they must be verified by Barbadians. Whereas Guyana has been issuing a lot of certificates to its own nationals. Now, several of the challenges for CSME you all know because we live in this space. Whether it be your right to work immediately, whether it be the country's capacity, whether it be the standardization of qualifications. I've had things come across my desk with persons question, is a UTech degree, which is University of Technology in Jamaica, old-time CAS, equivalent to a University of the West Indies degree? Yes, it is. The rights of establishment, discretionary power of immigration officers has been discussed thoroughly across the region, and what I'm dealing with specifically, contingent rights. Now, I spoke about non-discrimination and most favored nation within the treaty, and contingent right deals with the rights of establishment, provision of services, and the movement of capital in the community. It basically regards those rights that are non-discriminatory access to land, capital, buildings, and property. Now, the CARICOM Prime Minister in 2006 at the launch of the CSME basically told us they defined what contingent rights should mean. It said, Relating to contingent rights, we agree to grant eligible nationals of participant member states access to healthcare, education, and such other social services as are necessary for their enjoyment of CSME rights, subject to considerations of national capacity. It is all right to grant these rights, but when a country doesn't know its own national capacity, then we have a bigger problem. So I explained why this access is important. I spoke about Joshua, my son. I'm moving with him as well, the obligations of a member state. And basically the study looks to assess the effectiveness of the government officer responsible for implementing the CSME nationally and regionally. In the middle, you see the Prime Minister and the CARICOM, Single Market and Economy focal point, is the main person the study focuses on. And the study created an effectiveness index, and they scored the focal points. It's a composite measure, and if you notice, Guyana's focal point has the highest composite score. And incidentally, there is a relationship, a strong positive relationship between the focal point score and the issuance of the CARICOM Skill National Certificates, which you would have seen earlier. Now, going back to contingent rights, within countries, just to tell you briefly because I have 2 minutes left, there's a big disparity of how we provide education across this region. I'm not going to start with Barbados, I'm going to start with Belize. Belize is located in Central America and it shares a border with Guatemala. In Belize, education is compulsory between the ages of 6 to 14 years old, and they have a lovely technical vocational mix of education. But more importantly, Belize offers education free of cost to Guatemalans who cross the border. Belize actually sends a bus over the border for the Guatemalan students and bring them over to get CXC education in Belizean schools. If I were to send my child to school in Belize, the first thing the Belizean government would tell me is that I need to get a visa, a student permit. That's discriminatory. That's illegal. They cannot do that when they're offering Guatemala, which is not within CARICOM, better treatment than they'll be offering to me, a Barbadian. In Barbados, there are catchment areas, and where you go to schools in your basic community. So we've been having a declining population, so we do have room for additional CARICOM members, but the Barbadian government has been pumping a lot of money into the education sector when they did this research in 2007. That may be up for discussion now, but the investment in the education sector has a textbook loan scheme, uniform grants, dental care, and these are things that are not offered across the region comprehensively. So these are things that as a region we need to discuss if we're really serious about advancing the CSME and overcoming the obstacles to regional integration. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.